Everybody has their favorite round, their favorite caliber, and today I'm explaining to you why 45 Colt and 22 long rifle are my favorite calibers and why they're actually pretty practical for survival and real world use. How's it going, guys, and welcome to another episode of Coffee Talk. My name is Chad and this is the Hopeful Homestead. And in this series of videos, I like to think I'm talking to all the husbands and dads out there from right here in my little tiny cabin on wheels parked on my family's property about all the hard things in life. And today we're talking about firearms again, like we so often do on this channel, but more specifically, my favorite ammunition, favorite calibers, favorite cartridges that I use and plan to use for the long term for the rest of my life. Now you might be saying to yourself, okay man, 22 long rifle, are you serious? 45 Colt, are you really serious? A lot of people laugh at those rounds, which I don't understand, because anybody who's actually sensible and practical in their way of conducting themselves will know that 22 long rifle is one of the most versatile and most useful, most affordable, most carryable rounds you can have. And 45 Colt, speaking of the devils, I got them right here. 22 long rifle, incredibly lightweight and small to store hundreds of rounds on your person in a pinch. You can throw a small little box like this. This box of 22 long rifle, there are 400 rounds in here. This is a very small box to be able to contain 400 rounds. And I can throw this in a backpack and be on move and have plenty of ammunition right at my disposal without having to weigh myself down like you would with some, can you imagine 400 rounds of 223 or 400 rounds of like 12 gauge shotgun shells, or heck, 400 rounds of even 9mm would take up a lot of space and weigh a lot. And so for me, 22 long rifle is the best cartridge. If I had to pick one, if I could only have one cartridge to live by for the rest of my life and had no access to any other ammo, it would be 22 long rifle, because it is actually incredibly useful. It can, coming out of the right cartridge with the right load for 22 long rifle can travel really far. It's a very lightweight bullet that can go very far when used with the right gun. If you're using a 20 or 22, 24-inch barrel, bolt action rifle with this thing, you can hunt some pretty big game from a very long distance. You can hunt deer with this thing. Obviously in an end of world scenario where there's no laws around it, because I know you can't use 22 long rifle in certain places in certain states legally to hunt deer, but it can take down pretty much anything if your shot placement is good. Because the old adage, a 22 to the forehead is a lot more deadly than a 45 to the hand. Shot placement is everything, and 22 long rifle is the most deadly round. I don't know if you know this, it is the most deadly round in history. It has killed more people than any other round, any other cartridge out there. Partially because it's so readily available, it's been around for so long, and it's just what's been used the most. It's legal in most places, and it has almost no recoil. So if you've got a semi-auto rifle or a semi-auto pistol, you can keep your sights pointed on target and unload your magazine without having any recoil, allowing you to put all your rounds right into the perfect shot placement. That's pretty hard to do with almost any other ammunition. And it's incredibly versatile in the fact that there's all kinds of guns for all kinds of formats, whether it's revolvers, semi-auto pistols, rifles, lever actions, semi-auto rifles, bolt actions. There's every type of firearm comes pretty much in a 22 long rifle. So you could have multiple weapons for multiple purposes and formats, all sharing the same ammo. Incredibly useful for a survival scenario. And all of those guns are very affordable when they're chambered for this. So anybody who's going to argue against me with 22 long rifle doesn't know what they're talking about. It's incredibly useful. It is still a very deadly round when used properly. It can defend you in a pinch, and no other ammunition will allow you to store as much as this for as cheap and as least amount of space as this can. But since I do have the ability to have two cartridges on me, I've chosen to have 45 Colt as my other cartridge, as my other choice for ammunition and firearms to be able to defend my property and family. Obviously, as you can see, 45 Colt is a heck of a lot bigger than 22 long rifle. This is like a 36 grain bullet, and this is a 250 grain bullet. And you can have 45 Colt loads that load up to being 350, 400 grain. You could have some pretty heavy bullets coming out of this round. And that's one of the aspects of 45 Colt that's so great, is that it's so versatile, and that it's sort of like shotgun shells, in that you can really load it up or load it down depending on what your purposes are. You can have it be like this is a herder's 45 Colt meant for target practice and cowboy action stuff. So it's traveling at only about 750, 800 feet per second, which still 250 grain, big old 45 caliber flat nose lead bullet is going at 800 feet per second. It's still deadly. What's great about it is that doesn't produce that much recoil. It's enough recoil to feel like you're shooting something, but It's not so much that it's difficult to place a follow-up shot accurately. That's one of the reasons that I like it. And also because these lighter loads don't completely destroy your ears like a lot of other rounds do. 357 Magnum, 9mm, anything else that's a lot louder, especially out of a handgun, 45 Colt is manageable. And for me, working out on my property, I talked about this in another video, when I'm doing work out here, I carry a revolver and a lever gun, both chambered in 45 Colt, because I have to deploy those and use them for wildlife protection, whether it's snakes or rogue cattle that are trying to attack me. It's happened before. I've told that story many times. I need to be able to defend myself and my family and do it fairly regularly without hearing protection, because I'm out here doing real world stuff. I'm not building fences and planting crops and doing all kinds of stuff with hearing protection on all the time. So I need a round that is lethal and capable, but also not going to completely destroy my ears every time I have to fire it. Because unfortunately for me, being out here in the middle of nowhere, the wildlife scenario, I have to deploy this quite often. But being that this is such a versatile cartridge, this 45 Colt can be loaded up to be a heavy load, to be like 44 Magnum, be even stronger than 44 Magnum if fired in the right firearm. In a large frame Ruger revolver, those things can handle the bigger, heavier loads for 45 Colt. And rifles like my Rossi R92 and my Heritage Ranch Hand 92, those things can handle some heavy load 45 Colt, to where as a hunting round and a rifle round, essentially, it's very versatile. You can put a big old heavy bullet traveling very far. It's pretty nice to know that in one cartridge you can have it loaded down as light as this in a cowboy action round, or loaded as heavy as you want to be able to really do some serious damage if you need to. And anybody who says 45 Colt is not powerful enough doesn't know what they're talking about, because they clearly haven't heard this discussion, and they also don't know that even this cowboy load, flat nose, think about this big old heavy bullet, 250 to 300 grain bullet with a big old flat nose. I choose to use this for my first choice for wildlife protection, but also for home defense in the house, because this big old heavy flat nose bullet will pack a huge punch even for this lighter load when being fired indoors. Won't destroy my ears completely because it's not that loud, especially inside, but then also it's not so powerful that over penetration becomes a problem. This flat nose will pack a punch, a heavy punch, when hitting a two-legged threat, but this round will not over penetrate, blow through them, blow through the drywall and framing of multiple other walls in my house, being a risk to other people in my home, and even exiting the home and hitting a home nearby. You know, if you're using a rifle to do that in your home, that rifle round, 223, can blow through a lot of stuff and go right out your house and become a threat somewhere else. So 45 Colt has the best balance of being able to pack a solid heavy punch that's got a lot of torque and a lot of heaviness when it hits, but it's not going to pass through and blow through everything behind your target either. So for me, 45 Colt is my choice to defend my family in my house and on my property. And that brings me to my runner-up round, my honorable mention. That would be 357 Magnum and 38 Special. As you can see here, I've got a 357 Magnum Buffalo Bore Outdoorsman with a hard cast flat nose bullet. This is some serious stuff. This is traveling at like 2,400 feet per second out of a rifle. You're approaching full-on rifle velocities with this stuff. This is really good for wildlife protection. If you can only carry one gun, you can't carry a long gun. This is what I carry in a revolver, in my Colt Python, in a chest holster when I'm hiking out in nature, to be able to use as a one-and-done scenario. Yes, it's going to destroy my ears. This sucks to shoot without hearing protection, but in that scenario, I'm probably not shooting wildlife out on a hike very often. It's going to happen maybe once in my life, hopefully never. So this isn't a regular occurrence. Whereas the 45 Colt is a regular occurrence out on my property, where I'm having to take care of pests and other wildlife threats out here. So that's why I don't carry 357 Magnum on my farm, but it is a great round for wildlife protection when you can only carry one gun. But then, being that 38 Special is interchangeable with 357, so you could have a bunch of firearms that all can handle both of these. You could load up on both of these rounds. This is very comparable to 45 Colt in terms of its recoil and its loudness. It's not that loud. It's similar to 45 Colt without hearing protection. It is loud enough to bother you, but not so loud that it'll destroy your ears for several days. It also won't over penetrate either. This is a very versatile, very useful round that is still very deadly, but obviously not packing quite as much of a punch as 45 Colt. But like I said, these are my honorable mention. If I could only pick two rounds, it would be 22 long rifle and 45 Colt. But that's going to do it for this video today. Again, my name is Chad, and this is the Hopeful Homestead. Thanks for being here, and thanks for watching. Let me know what you thought in the comments. Let me know if you have any experience with 22 long rifle or 45 Colt. Let me know what kind of caliber you carry all the time. What do you choose to use to defend your family, to defend your home? And if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe it if you haven't already, and if you feel like sticking around, there's a video right here talking about why revolvers and lever guns are my favorite and why I'm just a wood, steel, and soul guy. So feel free to watch that. But until I see you again in the next one, thanks for being here, guys. I appreciate it.